So hi there everybody. Today I'm gonna share to you how my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera cage setup looks like. Stay tuned. So the past couple of days, a lot of you have actually been asking me about my cage setup. So I decided to make a video about it because it's not an easy thing to actually answer, because the setup actually changes from shoot to shoot, from time to time, from moment to moment. So it's evolving all the time. But before I get into how my different cage setups look, I have to say that I am sponsored by SmallRig. They have sent some things to me, like the cage. This handle is actually also sent to me by them, but far from everything here is sent by SmallRig, because I have been using their products for a year and a half or so, and a lot of things I actually have been paying for myself, but they have sent some things to me, but they actually didn't expect or want me to do this video. This video is totally me making a video to all of you who have been asking me about my setup, and of course all of my opinions in this video will be my own. If there's things that I don't like about the SmallRig products, I will say that, and that will probably be some kind of feedback to them. But most of all, I do like their things, and I think there are quite a lot of things here that are not made by SmallRig also, that I will mention, that are parts of my different setups. And yeah, so let's go into it. So first and foremost, the cage for the Blackmagic Pocket, it's the SmallRig cage. I think it's called the 2203. It's a really nice cage that I really like. I actually have made a video only about this cage, so see that video for more info. But I really like that they have put NATO rails in a couple of places that I use. Now this left-handed wooden handle is actually a really nice thing. I think the grip is fantastic on it, and it has a NATO rail, so you can actually quite fast and securely attach this to your setup. So this doesn't only work with the SmallRig cage, but as you can see here I have my Panasonic GH5 cage. Works perfectly here as well. So I really love this cage. One of the cool things about this wooden handle is that it actually has 3 screws here, 2 1/4 inch and 1 3/8, and it also has a cold shoe, which I often use for putting my mic on. And here I have the Rode NTG one. Now, for all of you who are looking to know with which equipment I use and accessories for the Blackmagic Pocket, I'm actually gonna make a video on my VooStore channel, a link up here somewhere to that channel, and that video is probably gonna come out in the following week, where I actually only talk accessories. Now this is the cage setup mostly, but yeah, so if you want to see that video, go to the other channel, subscribe there. Here I actually use the Manfrotto cold shoe or hot shoe tripod setup, which is a really great piece of kit, and when it's locked in, it's locked in. It's really good. It's called the 492 LCD. And for the mic, I actually am using a part from Rode. I'm not really sure what this part is made, but I'll put a link in the description for this as well. Now, with that said, SmallRig actually sent me this piece of kit, which is made for microphones, like the Rode microphone here. And I mean, it actually works, but it isn't as sturdy as the other SmallRig products. And one thing that I really like with the SmallRig products is that you can basically take and hold your product or the cage from anywhere, and you feel that it's so secure it won't budge a millimeter. And this is probably the only thing that I wouldn't use in a scenario like that. I mean, of course you can use it on the mic stand or anything like that, but not in a cage where you want everything to be firm. So this is actually something that I do not recommend, and I actually would love for SmallRig to make something similar to this, but that was like in really good quality as a lot of the SmallRig other products. Yeah, so that was the left-handed wooden handle from SmallRig. I really like this one with the NATO rail. Now here I have a top handle from SmallRig as well, which you can use also with the NATO rail, which is beautiful. It's really easy to put on and put off. Here you can see that I actually use this on the Panasonic GH5 a lot. Now I have one similar, and this was given to me by a booster where I also work, and this is more or less the same top handle, but this has a rod mount as well that I use with another accessory that I will be talking about more. So this, I mean, the top handle is probably the thing that I put on first of everything when I use my cage, because I really like to have it as a handle and be able to move around with the cage fastly. Now another part of my cage, and I actually change it up quite often, that I use the left-handed wooden handle from SmallRig, and the other wooden handle SmallRig. This doesn't have the cold shoe on top, but it is actually better made for when it comes to gripping it. It has a RE rosette handle, which is really great, which actually lets you hold the cage in different angles, and that is a really good thing. You actually can get the RE rosette with a NATO extension as well, and I'm looking to get that as well from SmallRig, so you can take it off and take it on very fastly. As of right now, I'm actually using just like a RE rosette attachment. This is actually from Camvit, and it's not from SmallRig, but SmallRig makes similar items, and I have a couple of them here, but I haven't seemed to be getting them to work. As I said, all of the items are going to be linked up in the description, so all of you can see which are the things that I use. Now here on the right side of the cage, I've actually put on a mounting plate for a NATO. So most of the time I actually use a monitor on the right side. Here I have the Atomos Ninja. And I know that a lot of you are asking me why I'm using the Ninja with the Blackmagic, and it's solely for monitoring. I really love this monitor because of it being really good in the outside, because it has really good screen brightness. So it goes like this. So this is probably the setup that I use the most, but often when I want to use proper mics, I use this as well. So for a monitor, I tend to use this setup, so with a NATO clamp, a NATO rail attachment. Now this is a magic arm. I don't know exactly what SmallRig calls this, but I've been using their magic arms for since I started with SmallRig, and they're quite okay. But when it comes to screens, and I found that this type of magic arm is so sturdy. I mean, I can hold the whole setup from this, and when you attach it, it's not going to budge a millimeter, and that's really great. So I actually recommend these types of magic arms much more than the regular ones that SmallRig makes or any other manufacturers, because they are really great. I think they are a little bit more expensive, but in my book it's totally worth it. Now the Blackmagic camera has a couple of ports here on the left side, and it has a USB-C port, and it has a HDMI full-sized port. And to attach those, I mean, accessories like the Atomos Ninja, of course you will be needing the cables to go into the camera, and they actually have made a cable clamp especially for this pocket camera and cage setup, which is really nice. And if you're buying this cage, you should also get this piece of kit as well. Now SmallRig also makes a monitor holder, which is really great, and I use this all the time with the Panasonic GH5, where I put the Atomos Ninja on top here, and then I put this on the Panasonic GH5 cage, and this is so sturdy. You can really rely on it. It will stay in place. You can actually hold your camera setup from the monitor. That's how good it actually is. So I really recommend that. And this is probably the monitor holder that I've been using the most, but since I got the Magic Arm from SmallRig, I've really been enjoying that as well. Now at times I've been using an EVF. This one is from Fieldworld, and I'll be talking a little bit more about this EVF in the Booster YouTube channel. But SmallRig also makes an EVF holder that is really nice, and the same thing here. It's so sturdy that you don't have to need or second guess it be holding when you're out shooting. So this is really great. It is good and I really recommend it. This wasn't sent to me by SmallRig. This is actually a piece of my Booster kit. Now SmallRig also make a dedicated holder for T5 Samsung SSD drives, which is really great. It actually has a couple of screws here that you can use to screw this on. I haven't gotten my T5 SSD yet. I'm looking to get that soon, but yeah, it actually makes a piece of kit for that. So if you want to use the T5 with your Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera, you can do that and it will work perfectly. Now when it comes to battery, I mean, I know that a lot of people are getting a little bit anxious with the Blackmagic cameras because there are some different kinds of issues. I've had issues with it, that the camera just turns off when it's like 20 or 30% of the battery capacity left. So that's a big problem. So you won't get, or at least with this firmware, I'm not getting the full hour that we're supposed to get with those batteries. But one thing that I have been starting using is V-mount batteries, and SmallRig makes this V-mount lock. So at times I've actually only been using the setup like this. I've been having the battery on the bottom, and I've been shooting handheld more or less like this, and this actually works great, and I'm getting like 3 or 4 or 5 hours of battery life from this setup. So this works great. Of course, if you're going to use your setup on a tripod, this won't work. You will have to put it somewhere else. But they actually make this V-mount accessory as well, so you can use it with your external powers. And for powers, I mean, Blackmagic makes this D-tap adapter, and for sound you have this XLR to mini XLR. And I use, when it comes to HDMI cables, I actually use this super thin. I don't know if anybody else sells it except from Booster. I'll put a link in the description for this. It works great with 4K 60 as well, which is really great. Now when it comes to heavier lenses, I actually use the Sigma 18-35 quite a lot with this setup. And I have two types of lens supports. Both are from SmallRig. They do more or less the same thing, but I actually urge you, if you're using really big lenses with this camera, I actually would recommend you to look at some kind of a lens support. Now SmallRig also makes a MetaBones adapter that you can put on the underneath your cage, and I've actually been using it, but I actually found it to be too much of a hassle when using it, because I often change between Micro Four Thirds native lenses and the Speed Booster with other types of lenses. So that actually becomes somewhat of a hassle. So I actually prefer using these kinds of lens supports instead. SmallRig also makes these cold shoe adapters that you can use. And depending on how my setup looks at the given moment in time, I use these actually quite a lot. Especially this one, I like to put it on the right side if I don't have the NATO rail there, so I can have my microphone on the right side instead. So if you want to put the whole cage setup on some kind of a shoulder rig, I know that SmallRig has like probably 100 different solutions for that, but these are the ones that I like to use. They both are basically the same. They let you have plates underneath, so you can put them on a tripod, and they also let you to have some kind of rail system for that you can build up and have support your whole camera. So that was basically my setup, and I know that a lot of you are probably gonna ask me, well, that's a lot of options, and yeah, that's true, because building your cage and your setup is quite time consuming, because everybody is different, everybody uses their equipment in different ways. So saying that this setup is better than that setup would be so wrong, and it's very hard to say that what is best for you. This is the things that I'm using with my setup when I use this camera. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram, where my name is Arber. And if you have other videos you want me to make, please suggest that in the comments, and I'll try to get back to you. I try to answer all of the comments when I can. Sometimes it gets a little bit daunting, but I'm doing my best with that. Yeah, so until the next time, bye bye.